There's one question from warehousing. Please explain the period for warehousing for importers other than 100% EOU under section 60.
The period of warehousing period is 1 year normally. For perishable goods, it can be less, anywhere 30, 40, 45 days like that, determined by the department. It is the maximum period. Don't think that they will allow you to keep for 1 year, but in many a case, government, any department, the officer will decide, proper officer will determine the period of deposit, but the maximum period is 1 year, and it can be extendable unless it is perishable. It can be extendable by another 6 months by commissioner, and more than 6 months by chief commissioner. There are precautions. There were circulars also that there is a caution that the commissioners and chief commissioners are instructed not to extend unless and until they are convinced that it is highly essential. Normally they extend for 1 month, 15 days like that. So this is possible. If you fail to get the extension, you have an option. You can go to tribunal, CSTAT. You can file an appeal before the CSTAT. Done.
Okay, one student is asking for valuation of export goods with the help of an example. Can you please explain?
Valuation of
Export goods with the help of an example.
Very good question. Recently, CS Institute has given this question, and CA Institute also has given a question on valuation of export goods. And on export goods, FOB value, accessible value is equal to FOB value, because we are sending from India. So you are giving send off to Indian goods. So from the port itself we say send off, hi karke, something like that. So FOB value, accessible value is equal to FOB value here under exports. There is nothing like CAF, because from India we are exporting, it is FOB, and there is nothing like landing charges as you find in imported goods. In imported goods there is a case of landing charges. Here there is nothing like that. FOB, obviously you must be knowing, the goods are already inside the ship, loading charges into the ship already included, and on this FOB add export duty. Export duty, say for example FOB is 1 lakh and export duty is 10%, add 10%. What about cess? This question must be there. So 1,10,000 and 10,000 is the duty, you pay 10,000. What about cess? No cess. Education cess 3% is not applicable for export goods. So there is nothing, very simple. But remember, important thing is relevant date for rate of duty. Rate of duty may be fluctuating, you should be careful. Relevant date for rate of duty. For this, you have to look into section 16. What is it? The rate applicable on the date of, see there are two things, rate of duty. Rate applicable on the date of clearance permitting the exporter to bring goods for loading. So shipping bill is cleared and he will say, now yes, proceed, you can bring the goods. The day on which the shipping bill is cleared and the exporter is informed that he should bring the goods for loading, the rate applicable on that particular date you have to take. That's number one. Number two, rate of exchange. This is also you have to understand. Rate of exchange will be as per section 14 explanation, date of submission of shipping bill. Date of submission of shipping bill, whatever be the date on which you are submitting the shipping bill, then exchange rate shall be relevant. For exchange rate, date of submission of shipping bill. For rate of duty, date of getting permission for bringing goods for loading. These two things you have to take care of to find out rate of duty and the rate of exchange. Otherwise, this is a very simple calculation. Done. And that too, in export there is only one single duty. There are not many duties. That is export duty or custom duty. Done.
So one student is asking for duty drawback computation. Can you explain?
Drawback computation, is it so easy? Just like transit and transshipment. Tell me how much time is there. Tell it.
So we have half an hour.
Extend कर सकते हैं. It's okay. Anything more? Drawback?
Duty drawback computation and adjustment under section 10 subsection 2.
Oh, adjustments under Rule 10, not 10, Section 10. So it's a very, very, very important. You have to read between identical, this difference between duty drawback and Sen VAT credit. Okay, good question. Let me answer this question. Intelligent question. Duty drawback and Sen VAT credit. Sen VAT credit is applicable under excise and also service tax. It is input tax credit. Whatever be the taxes you pay at the input level, inputs, input services and capital goods, you are eligible to take credit so that you can use it as set off against the taxes payable at the output level, that is Sen VAT credit scheme. Whereas the duty drawback is relating to exports, export promotion schemes, that is refund of duties and taxes in the event of export after import. So in duty drawback there is an element of import and there is an element of export. There is an element of import and you paid some duties, import duties, and plus maybe other local duties also. There is an import and you paid some duties on imported goods plus maybe local taxes, and the same goods in the same form or different form you have exported. So because the goods are not meant for consumption in India, because indirect taxes are taxes on domestic consumption, because in the case of export the consumption is outside India, so there is no justification in imposing tax. So already whatever be the taxes you paid on the goods exported, you will be getting back as refund. So duty drawback is a refund scheme in the event of export of imported goods, right? Maybe export of the same goods in same form or in different form. So it is a cash refund scheme, duty drawback, applicable for customs, whereas Sen VAT credit scheme is applicable to excise and service tax. It is input tax credit. There is a lot of difference. There is no comparison at all.